Hello and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. Today we have another match preview, and this time it's all looking ahead to the Wrexham game on Tuesday evening, which is going to be a good one, hopefully. We're joined by Tim from Fearless in Devotion, a great Wrexham podcast and channel. Tim, how's it going with you, mate? You okay?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, I know it's pre-recorded, but we're speaking at an ungodly hour on a Sunday. So yeah, but bit of a rubbish night's sleep, but nothing a cup of tea won't sort out.
Absolutely, mate. Well, it's not an ungodly hour for Luke over here down in Australia, mate. How are you?
Good, thank you, sir. Cream of the crop, 3:30 p.m. Perfect, man. And not too late for a coffee either.
Lovely stuff. Well, before we get into it, Tim, I just want to start us off, mate, and just ask you. Obviously, there's been a lot said and a lot shown online and on documentaries and everything with Wrexham. So I'm excited to talk to a Wrexham fan for the first time this season. Going into this season, mate, because we've seen all of the previous seasons on the series, but going into this season. What were your expectations for the season? Where were you hoping to finish, or how were you hoping to have got on in the first few games?
Expectations were just to enjoy the season without any pressure. To be honest, for the first time in a long time, because obviously the last three seasons have come with so much pressure on everybody because of what's happened with the takeover and everything else. And the large proportion of our fan base have never experienced Championship football. I think that's safe to say. So it's been 43 years. So we just wanted to come into it with an element of enjoyment, and even one of the non-executive directors came on our pod the other week and kind of verified what we were thinking, that it's a season of free hits, really, just to go out there and enjoy it. But I think the parameters of fans' expectations has changed somewhat with the sort of fact that we built a brand new squad inside 8 weeks to the tune of 30 million quid there, give or take. So it's gone from quite happily staying up to, well, should we be looking a little bit higher? So it's just trying to get the balance right between what you originally thought and what you're now thinking, but with the best, without getting too carried away. Again, it's kind of tempered by the fact that we've not been here for such a long time, so we don't really know. It's great that we spent 30 million quid on loads of brand new, shiny new players, but are they still good enough for this level? We still don't know. It's still early days, 7 games in. So, the short answer to your question that I've just sort of labored out is, I will take anything mid-table upwards at this juncture to be put, and that would be more than respectable as a season of consolidation, I think.
Yeah, go on, Luke.
Tim, that's a very measured take, Tim. I actually respect you a lot for saying that, because I really appreciate, I think you guys, what your club has done has been super impressive. And as a Leicester City fan, we're allowed to dare to dream, because the whole world was watching when we won the league. Anyone outside the top six loved it when Leicester City gave the big middle finger to the other big six. And what I love it, people slag you guys off saying you bought your success, but it's actually quite humbling, because there's a massive divide between the older and younger generation right now of Leicester City fans. And, a lot of the young kids, all they've known is success. And there's other people that have been there down in the doldrums. And you guys have been there, with all due respect, for a while. And your ascension's been so rapid that each season you just keep exceeding expectations. You just keep getting up a level, up another level. Here you are now, from National League all the way to the Championship, arguably the most toughest division in the world to get out of. So to have those measured expectations is really, really sensible. But at the same time, there's an element of exciting, of always wanting a little bit more, even though you're not supposed to. So how do you feel about to stay here?
Say again, sorry, I missed that last bit.
If you were to survive, mate, you would take that right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like what you just said. Then because one of my mates is a Leicester fan, like old school diehard Leicester fan, and when they won the league, he could scarcely believe it. I don't think anybody could scarcely believe it, really. But as time went on, it's like, wow, there's a realistic expectation, and it was great. It was great for football, for modern football, because it upset the monopoly. And it was just like, well, if that shows that anybody can do it, if given the right tools and the right armory, and it was just a perfect storm at the time, I think, And I remember being in Thailand and going through the airport and seeing Leicester stuff. And I was like, why can't this be us one day? And it kind of is now, I guess. You go to America, you'll probably see a lot of Wrexham gear everywhere. We've sold in excess of like 100,000 shirts this year. It's just nuts. Like, it's just absolutely bonkers. But great times. You've got to embrace it, because you never know when they're going to be there and how long they're going to be there for. So as much as we've had the doldrums, and it's strangely, I mean, the sadistic part of me says I've kind of enjoyed the sort of indifferent start to life, because it presses a bit of reset on expectation, especially the newer fans who all they've been accustomed to is success, success, success. You know, back to back to back is wild. Probably won't ever happen again. So people have to temper that. And yesterday, you know, against Derby, it's probably the first time this season where we genuinely started looking like we've gelled a little bit more of a unit. And that was always going to take time, I think. But yeah, I don't want to get too carried away before Tuesday.
Let me just quickly ask as well. I mean, you mentioned that you've had, and I've seen it with my own eyes. You know, you've had board members, executives on your channel in the past, and you know those guys do a lot, and they're very, the communication with the fans is top tier, and it is always going to be obviously with the documentary and things like that. But Leicester City at the moment, mate, I don't know how much you know, but there's been quite a bit of toxicity in the fan base for you know a couple of years, and there's a lot of people unhappy with the lack of communication at the football club from the hierarchy down. You know, two relegations in 3 years for a team that won the Premier League and the FA Cup, you know, not too long ago is super disappointing. So what effect do you think that has on, you know, with the club? How important to the story to you guys as fans is it that your board, your executives are so open with you as fans? And do you think that will continue the higher you get?
I think it will have to, as long as Rob and Ryan are involved. It will have to, because it kind of goes against their values that they set out in the first place. It was, you know, it's a community club. It still has to have a feel of a community club without it going too far away from where you want to get. You know, they won't allow these players to arrive at the ground wearing headphones, clutching a Louis Vuitton wash bag, and just walking past the players. Won't happen. Won't happen. Because the minute you start doing that is the minute you cause that divide. It's the minute it's an us versus them. It's like, hang on, you know, I'm working all week and I'm counting down every day to get to this day, to meet you, to support you, and you don't want to give us the time of day. I couldn't deal with that. I see it in a higher level, and I just think it's despicable. I think it's awful. And some clubs make excuses for it. There's been a little bit of a kickback from the club recently, where there's a lot of sort of Wrexham fans groups, you know, dotted around different villages, different areas. And under previous regimes, they used to give player access. You know, players would go, oh, yeah, you know, can you go down to speak to that group for half an hour, an hour? Yeah, okay, no problem. But only so many of these players would live locally. A lot of them would live Manchester, Liverpool. So after training, naturally they're going to go home. So you're kind of restricted to a pool of players. That has now kind of fallen off a cliff, really. And they kind of, like Michael Williamson, the CEO, kind of cited the example of protecting their mental health, which he just thought was wild. So what do you think we're going to do to them? I mean, these are players that have only known winning. You know, we're putting them up on a pedestal. We're treating them like heroes. I could understand it if we'd lost 25 games in a row and they were getting henpecked by everybody. You're not going to put a player up in front of a baying mob, are you? So that's just kind of like one of the examples. But I think they have to still have that element between fan and player, and they have to make sure that that gap is bridged and never broken. Because honestly, and we've started a fans advisory board now, kind of a new incarnation of what it was previously, but it seems to have a bit more kudos to it, that it's been done properly, it's been voted on properly. And only time will tell to see whether that is lip service. That fans advisory board is representative of the fans' thoughts, ideas, what things are getting wrong, whether it's customer service stuff, whether it's ticketing stuff, the ballot that we've got on the go at the moment, taking that to the executive board and saying, ABC, this is what you need to look at. If in time they look at two out of three of those things and they address them, you're thinking, great, this is happening. They are taking notice of what we're saying. If they turn around in 6 months' time and nothing's taken on board, you're thinking, okay, well, what was the point of having the FAB in the first place? So they have to be accountable. You know, they're printing up all this merch now, which sort of mentions the song in the documentary. You know, don't forget where you came from stuff. It's like, well, we'll just cite that back at you then. You know, you're saying all this to us, so we'll fire it back at you. So, yeah, I think the long and short of it is it shouldn't go too far away from that, because we won't let it.
It's funny that you said about they don't turn up with Louis Vuitton bags. Wait until you sign James Maddison next season, mate.
You don't Conor Coady back, do you?
Well, I was going to say, I'm going to
Oh,
hand it to Luke because I know Luke's got a couple of players he does want to ask you about, mate. Go on, Luke.
oh, my man, Tim. First of all, that was awesome with what you said about the Louis Vuitton bag, and it must be difficult with all the attention that you guys are now getting. I'm not sure how it feels locally within Wrexham, and if it just looks much bigger than it really is from the outside looking in. But the one that you seem like a nice guy, and I wish I knew you sooner because, Jesus, man, I could have given you the information to pass on to someone that saved your money. I know you've got to spend a bit more on the championship. You're obviously Welsh, and you probably maybe only know Danny Waters, the second or third choice keeper, but for God's sakes, the guy's a car crash. I'd be offering him back as well. I feel sorry that you guys took him, but I honestly really like Nkunku. I'm sorry if I pronounce his name wrong. I think he's decent at distributor of the ball. I think he made some brilliant saves last season and this season, just against Derby, made two brilliant saves. I think he's a great player, young and on the ascendancy. What were your thoughts when you first signed Ward? Was it first was like, this is not bad, to 3 weeks later to be like, oh shit? Like, what
Uh,
are your honest
oh,
thoughts?
well, three parts to the Danny Ward thing. First part is we had him on the pod years ago. Well, I think he was at Leicester at the time. And he was just like, yeah, it was really good. It was really informative, really, sort of a deep dive into everything. And the second part of that is, as a Wales fan who goes and watches all the Wales games, I've always been a massive fan of Danny Ward, and there's this goalkeepers union. Most good or decent Welsh goalkeepers have always come from North Wales. Neville Southall, Hennessy, Ward, whoever, they're all from North Wales. So I'm part of that goalkeepers union. I like a goalkeeper. I like goalkeeper shirts and stuff. So when the idea was mooted that Ward was going to potentially be signing, I was initially like, I'm not too sure. And the reason I was not too sure is because of everybody else's train of thought. Is that he hasn't played much. He's sat on the bench way too much for his probably his own liking, and he probably will front up and say that at some point in future. So I wasn't sure, and I just thought we're now in a position where maybe we need to go out and get not better, but something that maybe brings that the average age down a little bit. But considering we got him for nothing, and considering the pay cut he took to come back home, if you like, in the grand scheme of things, I was quite happy with it. I was quite happy with it because yes, he's had a crap time at Leicester. It doesn't necessarily make him a bad player. Sometimes players don't fit certain clubs. It's as simple as that. It is as simple as that. We've been fortunate with the players that we brought in, the Mullins and Palmers and Elliot Lees of this world, that have just fitted the club at the right time. We've just been very fortunate there happened to be more than two or three. And it happens, look at Man United as an example. How many players have left there recently and have gone on to other clubs and started scoring goals for everybody? It's just it's just the way it might be a little bit unfair in Ward's respect, but I just think sometimes you either fit a club or you just fall foul of it. And I suppose the nature of the beast at clubs at higher level is a turnover of managers and this, that, and the other. Some fancy you as a player, some don't. So I was happy to get Ward for nothing, and that kind of like a full circle redemption story side of it. And he started really well and he ends up getting injured. So it's typical, isn't it? Typical that he comes back. But I think he'll be a good addition generally to have around the club, to bring on the younger keepers that we've got there. And who knows, it might be a similar situation what we had with Ben Foster a few years back, where he comes back into the fold late into the season and has a very important run of games. I genuinely don't know, but yeah, I'm happy to have him here. I am happy.
The Ward situation at Leicester was bizarre because, I mean, we signed him from Liverpool and he was always going to be back up to Kasper Schmeichel at first. And whenever he played in the cup games, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. The penalties as well. He was brilliant at penalties, and I think he even saved a penalty last season as well. But for Wales, I mean, I haven't told you, mate, but I'm from Wales. I'm from Pembrokeshire. That's where I was born and raised. I'm in Leicester now, though. So I used to watch Danny Ward for Wales, and if you remember back to the Euros, I can't remember what year it was, but he had a great tournament, and I think that's around the time Leicester signed him. And but it was the 2022-23 season, the first year Leicester were relegated from the Premier League, and it was a car crash, and I almost feel like that just really affected him, and he's just never recovered at Leicester from that. He played again, in parts last season as well in the Premier League, and really struggled. So, as football fans love a scapegoat, he is the one that gets blamed for that. I haven't watched too much of Wrexham's opening few games when Ward played, so I don't know how he performed, how good he was. But obviously, if you're saying he had a decent start and then got injured, he's out for a couple of months, isn't he? Still. So.
Oh, many months. I mean, he dislocated elbow.
Right.
At Millwall, but like Southampton, he was great. But there's still a small proportion of Wrexham fans who were kind of almost willing him to fail. People are saying, "Oh, well, he was just in the right place at the right time for those saves." Isn't that the part of being a goalkeeper? Is being in the right place at the right time, or being instinctive? And people will always look at it. It's like last week against Norwich, one of our younger goalkeeper, Arthur Conor, we conceded late on, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, should have Arthur pushed it out this way? Should have gathered?" Does it really matter when we've won? Does it really matter? So people are putting this microscope on looking for fault rather than focusing on the fact that we just scored 3 goals at Carrow Road for the first time in whatever, 4 decades. So, yeah, it's weird how people tend to focus on negatives all the time. But I suppose as football fans, it's quite easy for us to do, especially if you've been in non-league for 15 years. So, yeah.
Did you, just before we talk about the game, Luke, did you want to just ask about Coady as well, mate?
No, I feel bad now because this guy knows. He
No,
knows anyone. I
look,
feel like an asshole now. Just so quickly. I really respect your measured answer, especially if you've interviewed the guy before. You wouldn't want to slag the guy off. And Locks is right. To be fair, like he was decent in cup games before Schmeichel left, and a lot of people, me myself, will be the first one here to admit that the end of that season with Schmeichel, how many goals we conceded from corners, Locks. I was calling for Danny Ward to come in because every time he was in, he was decent. And he played that last game, if you remember, against Watford, when it was meant to be Schmeichel's 500th game. Ward stepped in and had an absolute brilliant game. I'll be the first to admit, but you're right though. I think that game that broke him was that Tottenham game when what's his name came off the bench second half. The Korean lad, I can't believe I've just forgot his name right now, from Tottenham. Just absolutely, Song. Thank you. Song absolutely just buried him with a hat trick coming off as a sub, and that broke him that game, I think. So, anyways, as for Coady, I don't have as much hard feelings for the lads, to be honest with you. We spent way too much money on him, but I heard he's been having a mare at Wrexham. So if you want to slag someone off in a safe place,
no, it's way too. If we'd played 15 games and he started 10 and he had a howler in 8 of them, then you go fair enough. But again, any other transfer window, he would have been the high profile signing without a doubt. But because of the window we've had and the money we've spent, it's kind of just gone like, oh right, there's an experienced operator, great, and a snippet, 2 million quid. Thank you very much. But whilst there's no doubt about his leadership skills, there's no doubt about his ability in the air, it's becoming blatantly obvious at the moment that pace wins you points in the Championship, and he lacks it. So if you can exploit that, which has been exploited, then you're gonna pay the price. And he's literally bombed out the squad entirely yesterday. He wasn't even on the bench. So Leicester fans will be delighted and annoyed in equal measure on Tuesday that they're almost certainly not going to see hide nor hair of him. They might see him in the stand somewhere. But yeah, it's a weird one. Again, similar to what I said about Ward, he's bound to at some point play a part somewhere along the way this season, whatever that may be. And that's the beauty of having a squad depth, If somebody of his ilk can come back in and one of our other players is having a bit of a dip in form as an injury, look, it's not that long ago we were still playing Dover and Ebbsfleet, and we didn't have that caliber of player. So we kind of got to look at the wider picture and realise how fortunate we are.
I think it says a lot about Coady that over the last few years, Leicester have been notoriously kind of tough to negotiate with selling players. We very rarely like to take a hit. And Coady, they just said, 2 million, that's fine, mate. Yeah, just get him after we paid 8 for him or whatever it was a couple of years before. So, right, I want to touch on the game, of course. That's what we're here for. And Tim, let me ask you how you expect Wrexham to set up against Leicester. That's what we really want to know, because Leicester, of course, will at home, they'll want to play out from the back. We'll want to try and dominate the game. We've started starting Harry Winks as well, who didn't start the first few games. He's now starting games for us because we want to try and control the midfield. You're off the back of 7 points in 3 games, if I'm not mistaken. So how do you see the game going, and how do you expect Wrexham to set up against Leicester?
I genuinely don't know. I mean, I think away from home, you always think just get something, whether it's a point or 3. If you can come away from home with something on the board, it's good, as long as you can transform that home form. But It's flipped for us. We used to be like ridiculously good at home, and I say when I mean ridiculously good, I mean I would put Parky's record at home as one of the best in probably world football, despite the level. People can say, well, anybody can beat them, blah blah blah. But I mean, the home form is insane up until the start of this season, where it's dropped off a little bit. As a result, we've become a very good away team. It would seem there's less pressure on us. There's more pressure on the home team to kind of say, right, shut these Hollywood pain in the asses up and let's see what they've got. So I don't. I mean, it's changed a bit. He was very very stuck in his kind of 5-3-2, and he's tweaked it to this kind of like, what was it, 3-4-2-1 almost, and it seems to be paying off a little bit. So yeah, you know, 3 centre backs. It'll be Dom Hyam, who's come in from Blackburn. He's replaced Coady really in the centre of the three. Max Cleworth on the right, our kind of young centre back who's just come with us through the ranks, through the academy, went out on loan, come back, and he's just taken to it. He struggled a little bit yesterday against was it Carlton Morris for Derby. Big hulking striker, played for Luton. Had a bit of a handsful with him. Lewis Brunt on the left of that back three, and then the midfield is
player, Lewis
yeah,
Brunt,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And then midfield four, probably looking at Longman on the left. Is it Issa Kabore? Depends on that one because he came off injured. But I think it was hopefully precautionary because he walked the length of the pitch round to
He looks
get
dangerous,
treatment.
mate.
Oh mate, it's terrifying. Somebody said this to me yesterday. I think it was, I can't remember who said to me, because obviously we've got him on loan from Man City, season on loan. He's been at City for like 7 or 8 years. He can't remotely get near that City squad. And he's ridiculously good at this level. You're thinking, Jesus, if this is the leap from League One to Championship, what was the leap like from the Championship to the Premier League like? So, I'm sure you guys can attest to that. But so hopefully Kabore comes through fitness test and he starts. Midfield's a weird one because we've got Ben Sheaf from Coventry who's started reasonably well, still kind of working his way back to full fitness really. George Dobson should start almost certainly alongside him. He's had a really good start to the season, just very, very, very busy, getting involved with everything. Yeah, really, really good player. And he's having to really step up even more this year because our player of the season last year, Ollie Rathbone, he'd suffered an injury pre-season, so he's not featured at all, but he's on the sort of verge of coming back into the fold now. So there's a bit of extra pressure there. And then you've got the kind of three really, where you got Josh O'Brien scored yesterday. Him and Josh Windass, and then kind of Moore's been playing the lone striker role up top. Big
Did
Kiefer,
I read he came off injured yesterday? Kiefer Moore.
No, I mean he just gets battered all the time. He at Southampton when he showed a slow motion of his foot bending completely back, I thought, well, that's him out for about six months. But he was back the next week and scoring. So he took a couple of little knocks with his sort of left knee, then his left ankle before that. So he's always taking knocks, but it's because of the nature of his game, I think. He's always in the air, he's always landing awkwardly or whatever. So yeah, big focal point for the way Parky likes to set his teams up and the way he likes to play the game. So so that should be it. I can't see too many changes from that, give or take injuries depending, but maybe sort of Ryan Barnett in for Longman, because Longman was decent, but Ryan Barnett, I don't know, I just like him again. Somebody that we plucked from non-league, Solihull Moors, has come through, and he just looks like an old-fashioned winger. His socks are dead low. He's very like, you know what you're going to get. He'll go to the byline and cross it in. He'll do the step overs, beat your man, and cross it in. So it's a very straightforward battle. It's like you either show him inside or you don't. And it's an interesting one, and yeah, just excited to have that caliber of player compared to what we've had in the not too distant past, really.
Luke, before we wrap up, mate, let me come to you. How do you see the game going, mate, tomorrow? Because obviously Leicester now off the back of 3 draws in a row. We really need a win here at home as well. How are you feeling ahead of it?
I'm not feeling that confident after the game that we just played, to be honest with you. I'm sure we'll touch on it later. But yeah, I'm going to go for a draw again. I'm going to go 1-1. I genuinely think that we're going to concede late. But yeah, I'm not feeling as confident as I was leading into the West Brom game, surprisingly. But yeah, look, Best of luck to you guys, mate. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim. You're an absolute legend, mate.
No, yeah, welcome. You're more than welcome. It's just exciting, isn't it? Exciting to come to go to Leicester. You know, I always wanted to go to Filbert Street. It never quite happened. So just nice to actually come to a decent stadium. And it's just, yeah, it's literally, it just feels like every away day, apart from Millwall, probably feels like an FA Cup fourth round game, to be honest. No disrespect
let
to
me get
Millwall,
a,
but
yeah, no, I know what you mean. Let me get a score prediction from you as well, Tim. We like to do that.
you know what? As good as we have been away from home, I don't know. I think I'm going to go 2 each. I'd quite happily take 2 each. You know, more than happy to take that. So I don't know what to expect. Like you say, Leicester, like in a strange spot at the moment. Gone from the heights to trying to like lick their wounds a bit to try and kind of find their way back. So whereas I think it's two teams finding their feet for very different reasons. I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go for I think we'll edge it. I'm going to go 2-1. 2-1 Leicester. I do think you'll score, though, because with Wout Fass and Yannick Vestergaard at the back for Leicester, anything can happen. And I do like Windass. I really like Windass. On a free, I really wish we'd have picked him up. So yeah. Can you let everybody know, Tim, where they can find you? I know you'll have some bits and bobs coming out over the next few days, so people can check that out.
Yeah, Fearless and Devotion. You can find it on X, Blue Sky, YouTube, Insta, Facebook, probably. We're very, very active on X. I say we, I mean me. And yeah, there on YouTube, so Fearless ID Zine on X, and yeah, just type it into wherever, and you'll find our lovely faces talking a lot of rubbish in a kind of grounded, leveled out way as best as we can, really, without getting too carried away ourselves. You won't find, excitable pictures of us, like freeze frame pictures, thumbnail pictures, like, oh, right, they're very good. I'm just not that level of content creator. We just press a button, hope people like what we say, and hit stop and send it. We'll see what happens.
It's brilliant, as Luke was saying earlier, mate. It's brilliant to speak to a grounded fan, because I'll tell you what, mate. I've been speaking to some Birmingham fans, and it's
oh God, what an entitled bunch of fans! Jesus wept. I mean, there's got to be a few that sound. There is. There's going to be a few, and I spoke to a couple on that Blues Focus last year, and there was sound, to be fair. But on you get a flavour, don't you, on social media, either before a game or after a game, whatever the result is. Just like, it's just constant, like, oh, know your place, blah blah blah. We're so much bigger than you. It's like, at what point do people start caring who's the bigger club, who's got the bigger attendances? It's just like it's such a weird one-upmanship argument to have. It's like, we're still in the same division. You go down to the National League through mismanagement and bad practices and rogue owners, and you try getting back to what we've achieved so far. I mean, I get that there's an element of jealousy and annoyance about it, because the amount of headlines that we create or maybe don't command, but and annoyingly for everybody else, that gets the clicks, that drives the traffic for whatever reason. So yeah, I do get it, but yeah, Birmingham and now on our radars, a lot of Cardiff fans suddenly piping up. They didn't care too much a few years ago. They're tapping us on the head, asking how little old Wrexham are getting on. Now they really, really they're putting the not so charm offensive on it. We're going to kill you. We're going to murder you. Know your place.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Don't worry,
I'm
Tim.
not
We
worried.
brought them back down to earth, mate. They bent the knee to the real kings of Midland.
I'd rather lose every other game this season and not lose to them. Genuinely,
Yeah.
And people won't get that, but yeah, we haven't played them for 23 years, so it's been a while.
There we go. Tim, I appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. As we said, make sure to check out Fearless and Devotion. And yeah, we'll see you hopefully next time we play. Before that one, Tim. So all the best, mate. After Tuesday. Cheers, mate.
Likewise. Take care, lads. Take care.
Take care, Tim.
Now that Tim has gone, big shout out to Tim for joining us. As we said, make sure to check out Fearless in Devotion. Me and Luke are going to put together what we think the 11 should be on Tuesday night. So, Luke, I'm going to come to you. I mean, we've agreed we're going to stick with the 4-2-3-1, although I think if it was just down to you, you'd be talking about a back three, getting rid of that left back. But let's go on the presumption it is going to be a 4-2-3-1, because I think that's what it's going to be. I don't think Marty's going to change it up just yet. In goal, mate, I'm assuming it's, you're going to go with who we've had all season long, and that's Jakub Stolarczyk.
Yeah, and let's get to you touched on it already. Let's get to the real juices of what we want to talk about. Even though I want a back three, there's still no reason why we cannot get rid of honking Luke Thomas. To be honest with you, why can we not just play a Luco now at left back? He's been playing well at youth level. We know that Thomas he's been hauled finally. My vote's a Luco. I just can't see why. He's been featuring in pre-season really well. Centre back and also as a right back. Can he play left back? Maybe not. He still gets my shout. He's got to be better than Thomas.
Well, the question I'll ask you, Luke, is, Victor Christiansen is back now from injury. He made his first appearance of the season as a substitute appearance against West Brom with his stupid little gimp mask, I'm going to call it. Let me ask you, mate. I mean, do you think I think there's a chance he could start the game? And I know that sounds crazy, Luke, but
it doesn't. That's why it's annoying me.
I think that was a particularly bad performance by Luke Thomas on the weekend. And I think we could see Victor Christiansen start this one at left back.
Every fibre in my body wants to argue with you, and just to not give the pleasure and satisfaction to Duck to admitting to this. But the reality is that Marty's very good at his man management. Luke Thomas has been doing an okay job, in my humble opinion. Not good, just below average, really. But he's been honking this last game, and he's had his fair run. Christensen, with his groin guard of a fucking chin, is now as honking as he was, in my opinion, and no better than Thomas when he came on the pitch. He still hasn't been given a run of games. So I'm going to have to concede here and agree that Christensen is a fair shot.
Let's go right back, mate, because I don't think we need to discuss it too much. It's going to be Ricardo Pereira, right?
Yep. No questions asked.
Easy. The centre-back pairing, mate. So I think I'm going to, without you arguing here, I'm just going to put Yannick in, because I think that's what it's going to be. I think he's played nearly every game, if not every game this season. I think he will claim his spot
He's
again.
nailed on for me, mate. I will never debate with you unless he has a howler.
But do you think Marty will make a change to Wout Faes, or do you think he will keep him there? Because obviously he had that mistake, and it is only, I think, Luke still, I think it's the only mistake he's made so far this season. I think when he's played, he's been pretty good for us this season. Marty doesn't strike me as the reactionary manager, Luke, that's going to drop him just because of that. I don't think we're going to see a Coady or Nelson. I do think it'll be Faes again, but give me your thoughts.
No, I agree, mate. You're right. It was one small incident, but that still doesn't strongly reignite our PTSD, or Bozo PTSD, I should say, of Wout Faes. I think you're right, mate. I think he's going to get another game, but if he has another moment or two like that, then there's a good chance that a Coady comes in. We haven't even seen Nelson, so unfortunately, I think if anyone's going to come back in, it's going to be a Coady or hopefully a Luco, who I actually think is really good at centre back.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, mate. Right, let's move into the midfield. Is the next non-negotiable Harry Winks, would we say?
Yeah, he is him. He's non-negotiable for the remainder of the season.
Yeah. I think I'll agree with you there, mate. Absolutely. Who's going to be his partner, Luke? Because the options are Oliver Skipp, who I don't think will play. We've got Bouba Samare, who I think is the most likely in this position, and also Jordan James. Now, we know Jordan James has been playing as a 10. This kind of next player we pick, I think, then determines who goes in the 10. I think if we were to put maybe Jordan James here in the 8, then you're going to probably get Ayew or Louis Page in the 10. But the last two games, Marty's played Jordan James in the 10 and Samari 8. So how do you think he's going to approach this one? Do you think he's going to go the same midfield as West Brom and Coventry, or do you think he's going to switch it up?
I think he's going to switch it up, and unfortunate for the reason we all like. I personally want Jordan James, I think, but I don't think he's going to suddenly change his position all of a sudden, to be honest. I think if Jordan James is going to be playing, it's going to be in the 10, although I do prefer him to be that more advanced option in that pivot, if you want to call it that. But to be honest, if we mentioned man management, and I think there's actually a chance because of the quick turnaround and Samara just playing a lot of minutes. There's a very good chance. I'm not saying this is what I want, by the way. I do think there's a strong chance we actually see Skip come in. I know people are not going to want to hear that. I don't think Marty's going to be the kind of guy to phase him out of the team completely. We all talked about this about 2 or 3 weeks ago where he'd been half decent against Birmingham and it would be really harsh for him to be dropped the following week. And the following week he was repicked again and had a bit of a stinker. I wonder if he gets reintegrated into the team at some point when we have such a busy schedule like we do now. Personally, if you want my answer, I want Jordan James, but what we think we're going to see is a whole other thing. So I'll let you fill this in, mate, but I know you're going to go James.
Mate, this is what I want to see. I want to see Jordan James in the 8. I don't want to see Jordan James starting in the 10. I don't think that's his position. I think you're right. I think more of a he's the box to box here. You know what Winks is going to do in that pivot? He's going to link up play. He's going to be the quarterback. He's going to spray passes and bounce things off Vestergaard and fast. I want Jordan James as the box to box here. He's going to cover a lot of ground. I don't think he's a 10. I think he's an 8, and I think that's what we should do. Moving on to the 10 then, mate. Actually, no, let's do the wingers, because I think the 10 and the striker are interesting topics. So let's go out wide. Starting with the right one, again, another non-negotiable, which I think we know is nailed on. Abdul Fatawu, mate. No need to really discuss that one too much, I don't think. On the left, though, Luke, who do you want to see? Because Jerry Monger, I think a lot of fans want to see him start a game. And another game, it would be his second start of the season if he started. However, Steffi Mavididi, I think there was an improvement in the last game against West Brom, but still, he didn't, he's still 007, still no goals, no assists, not having quite the impact we'd expect. But so who gets your vote this game, Mavididi or Monger?
Monga, with the assumption that he comes off at the 65, 70-minute mark, and then Marty puts an arm around Mavididi with his excellent man management, who I'm assuming he has, from outside looking in and says, Mavididi, you've just played a bunch of minutes, mate. You've been giving starts. This is not a knock on you, mate. We're going to give you Jeremy Monga a start. I need you rested and ready for this big, long season. You're coming on around the 65, 70-minute mark, and maybe that's what Mavididi will need. We've seen him come off the bench and do a job and look back to his motivated, old, confident self, trying to prove his spot in the Premier League last season when we've seen him go missing. So this might actually suit Mavididi to be starting and come off the bench, hopefully. But chances are Monga's going to set it alight and it's going to put even more pressure on him.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. I think we need to see Monga now. I think Marty's done a good job of giving Mavididi a few different chances. And I'm not saying he was dog shit against West Brom because he wasn't. But yeah, I think Monga needs to. I think we've got a better chance of winning the game or getting an early goal with Monga on the pitch. The last two spots then, mate, they kind of go hand in hand now at the moment, I think. We've got Ayew, we've got Carranza, we've got Lewis Page. What are you thinking? We also have, Luke, Bobby De Cordova-Reid. Don't forget him as well. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Because I'm not against Carranza as the 9, Ayew as the 10. I'm not against that. I think Ayew would fit that 10 role more than he fits the 9 role. So I wouldn't be against seeing that. And it's something I've said a few times. I don't want to see Patson Daka. I don't think he should get near the first team. So what are you thinking for the 9 and the 10?
I'm thinking that Patson Daka is a non-negotiable to not even be an option off the bench for even cup games. I don't even want to hear his name again. I think I agree with you what you said, but the fact that I not only is so slow and holds up play so much, but he's only just played a heap of minutes. I think he's going to be, if he's going to be playing anywhere, unfortunately, I think it's going to be in the 9, and we're going to see Bobby Donkey over Reid in the 10. That's what I genuinely think will happen. What I want to see is Page in the 10 and Carranza up top, although I think Carranza was a bit of a donkey last game. That's what I want to see personally, but I have to agree with you, man. I think we're going to see Jordan Ayew as a 9. And I think we're going to see Bobby Donkey over Reid as a 10. That's genuinely what I think we're going to see.
Really? You think that's what it's going to be, yeah? Bobby and Ayew?
Yes.
I'm just looking here. Was Page wasn't even on the bench again against West Brom, so I don't think he's going to start. I think you're right on that. So we think this is the likely... I mean, you got to remember that Marty said it in the interview that he thinks he likes Bobby. He likes Bobby. He did say that in his interview with Radio Leicester. Bobby came off the bench, and although it was an own goal, I think he did make a little bit of an impact, to be honest with you, against West Brom. At this level, Luke, again, I'll stand by it. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's a good player at this level. I don't think he's a player we should be relying on. I don't think he's a player that he should be starting. But as you said, Carranza didn't really impress, did he, when he came off the bench? Ayew is our not a top goal scorer, but he scored a goal already this season. I would like to see Carranza start a game though, Luke. I will say that. I want to see actually him start from minute 1 and see how he grows into the game. But again, I think I probably agree with you. If we're going on what's more likely, mate, I think it is Ayew to play this one up top. With this team, though, what we've got on screen, Luke, it wouldn't surprise me if we were unchanged again. It really wouldn't surprise me if we were unchanged again from last week. Would you agree with that?
What? Maybe, mate. It's a pretty quick turn. How many days is that? It was Friday night. He goes, yeah, maybe. You could be right, Tuesday. Yeah.
And you've got to remember, Wrexham played a day after us. They played a day after us, so they're going to be more tired than we are.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most likely. I'm still going to go for this, but I don't think we're going to see James in the 8. But yeah, we should do it on 11 for what we want to see and what we expect to see. It's a bit confusing. We've blurred the lines a bit, of course.
Yeah, but let's off the basis that this is the team, Luke. Off the basis this is the team. You know, there's more than enough here to win the game, isn't there?
Of course there is, mate. If we should take a page from the Wrexham Tim earlier and being more grounded and appreciative of what they have in the league we're in. A lot of us, probably expect so much more. But this is a very, very good championship. Probably, if not one of the best in the whole league. We're well aware of that. So, nothing to complain about here in the reality of the league we're in.
Let's lock this one in, Luke. Let's lock this one in. People in the chat can slate us for it. But again, I think Luke's bang on. When we do these match previews, when we predict teams and stuff like that, lines get blurred between kind of what we want to see and what we think will happen. It's difficult. Like, we could sit here and say what we want to happen, and we could put a back 3 and we could have 2 high 8s and, and whatever, and 3 centre backs. But, what is the point in us doing that when we don't really think that's going to happen? It would be a bit of a waste of time. We want to try and find the middle between what we want to see and what we think we'll see. So this is what we've settled on between what we want to see and what we think we'll see. As Luke said, I think, this is going to be, if this team was our team every week, it is one of the best teams, if not the best in the Championship. I stand by that. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if we saw a couple of different players to what we've got here. Luke, just remind us again, you said it earlier, but what is your score prediction for this game, mate?
1-1. Good, sir.
1-1. 1-1. I'm going to go 2-1. Luke's being nice and grounded now, isn't he? He's being grounded after speaking to the Wrexham fan.
I got brought down a peg.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we're going to end it there. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the match preview. We will be live for Leicester versus Wrexham, of course. Watch along from 7. So a little twist here for once. So Anil normally does the Tuesday night tactics on a Tuesday. That isn't happening because we've got the watch along. So Anil is starting the watch along from 7 p.m. Kickoff's at 7:45, but he's going to start it at 7 p.m. or around that time to do a little bit of tactics, a little bit of analysis from the West Brom game before we get into the Wrexham one. So make sure you join us for that one. All the best. Thanks, Luke, mate. Nice to see you again, mate. And we'll see you. We'll see you later in the week, everybody. Cheers all. Take care. Bye-bye.